start reassembly here for the first time. After getting everything cleaned up and primered, who knows, I may leave it just the way it is. But we shall see. It helps if I have all the parts. Okay, here's my backing plate, adapter plate, whatever you want to call it. It adapts it onto the soft tail forward controls that don't belong on this bike. And here we go. It's real simple mounting. Have two holes that I've drilled in this backing plate, and that's what holds it all. And of course, going with the wrap rod mantra here, we had mismatched hardware, so that's always fun. But why not? Do what you can with what you got. Here's the first one. And both of these bolts do have lock nuts on them. Here's another half-incher. Okay, I guess I didn't get another half-inch. So we'll improvise. Here, but I guess I didn't. So we'll just go the old school route. Use the multi-wrench. It's always fun. I always go for the 2 grunt torque spec. All my years of doing things like this, that's always been a good torque spec. There it is. Alrighty, I went cleaned up the lever. Stuck a washer and a plastic bushing on here to give it a little bit of reduction in slop here. I'll probably end up going back and putting everything back together with Loctite, as our good people over at Cars and Cameras on that channel. If you haven't checked them out, you need to. One of their favorite sayings is, for testing purposes only, and that's basically what this is. But as Isaac from that same channel says, it'll be fine. So if Isaac says it'll be fine, then it's probably going to be just fine. Putting this back together. This really sucks once you got a crimp going on there on the cable, but oh well. So get this through, get this one started. This is where it gets to be kind of fun when you gotta get everything lined up and going together. Here's my half, my 9/16. So literally what I've done is I've cut this cable right above the original adjuster, and you know, in this application, because I got the length correct, it's not necessary to have an adjuster on here, but it helps hold everything in place and just overall makes things much easier. So some more thread sticking out this end. I decided to use a lock nut on this end, the same thread. That way everything works out just fine. Need some more threads there for that adjusting sleeve to connect. Considering these clutch cables are cheap, you know, why not? Okay. One thing that gets under my skin with the aftermarket companies, you know, I see some kind of cool fandangle nifty thingamabobber, and then you realize you can make it yourself cheaper, or if you do enough searching, you can find that usually the same product is rebranded at a hell of a lot cheaper price. Good example, the filler lights on my Ultra. Harley wanted $299 for the filler lights, and see, they were by Keystone LED filler lights, I believe it was, and the description on the Harley website said Keystone. Yeah, okay, cool. So I went looking around on Amazon one day, and guess what? Lo and behold, they had the exact same lights that Harley sells for $299 for $109. So guess which ones I went with? It sure wasn't the $299 ones. But to each their own. Some people gotta have that name, you know, the name brand on everything. Granted, some things I would prefer to have the Harley name on, but then there's other stuff that you don't want it on, or don't care to have it on, especially if you can find it cheaper. So that's the fun part with that Ultra Limited, is I'm wanting to light it up like a Christmas tree. You know, I like to be seen or heard, and that bike's pretty quiet, so I definitely want to be seen. With this bike, you get heard long before you get seen. Alrighty, so that's all snugged up and good. Alright, so that's all there is to that. So now, what we do is we gotta, if you look, I have my first hole here for the cable. Wouldn't give me quite the throw that I wanted, so I moved it in about 3/8 of an inch, down and over about 1/4 of an inch, and it worked perfect. Especially, well, at least for my application, you know, I have to tinker with it. This plate is just 3/16 steel from Lowe's, so it's about $22, I think it was, if that, for a 2-foot piece of it. But it does what it needs to do. And there's really no serious tension or anything on this, so it'll work just fine. So here, we'll tighten this up now. Let's see here. Am I able to get that on there? Yes. Okay. And this is a lock nut also. Some of y'all, I've noticed I didn't put a lock washer or anything like that on there. This is a lock nut, but like I said, more than likely, because this thing vibrates like a cheap toy, I'll probably end up going back and assembling everything with Loctite once I make sure everything's the way I want it. And then it'll probably stay that way for another 10-15 years before I decide to try again. But who knows? See, this is the third time of changing up the bike, and this is the second time of converting it over to Jockey Shift. So every time it gets better and looks better. Last time it was all just jingered together. There we go. Alrighty, so we got this cable coming around. Now this is the one that goes up to the hand clutch. It's just another cable that's been shortened. So to each their own when it comes to that. Everything ends up working out. It's just whatever you want to do. So now I just get my connectors here. And it's just simple cable clamps from Lowe's. At $1 or so a piece, no big deal. These things work excellent. I've been running these exact same clamps on this bike for the last 15 years, and you see they look like brand new. So I have no problem in running them. No problem whatsoever. So what we do is I'm actually putting both sides of this cable and this cable into the same clamp. Just like so. As if it'll cooperate. This is the hardest part, getting everything to line up and stay that way. You got a bum thumb, it don't help either. Okay, so what we can do, get these started. Actually, I think I will put this one back here like I did before. There is a way of cheating, but I don't think I'm going to do that right now. Alrighty. Time I use these things, I'm like, man, I wish somebody come up a better way of doing this, and then I end up using the same thing every time. It works just fine. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just keep on going. Alrighty, so here's the tricky part. Getting that in. Washer on there. And let's see if I can get my nut to start on there. Usually once you get one nut started, it's easy peasy from there. You just gotta make sure you get all your cables inside of there and lined up so it has something to grab onto. Started. Grab your trusty little 8mm wrench here. Make sure that's all where it needs to be. Start running these bad boys down. All right. If you've been watching along, we've been working on a Jockey Shift setup on my Sportster. This is the second time that I've done this to this bike. This time a little bit better than the last. I've got everything completed at this point. I just want to show you what we got going on here. This is actually what you would call attempted suicide. You have your foot clutch, hand shift, but you also have a hand clutch. That comes in very handy when you're coming to a stop, because if you're not used to Jockey Shift, you'll learn real quick why they call it suicide shift. When you come to stop and you happen to lean to the left and you're sitting still in gear and you put that left foot down, with any luck you'll stall out and be done. Other than that, you're taking off. So this is the easy way of doing it. My goal here is to show you folks how you can do things, sometimes amazing things, or just cool things, or useful things on a budget with very little tools, very little materials, and how to do it right. Sometimes it's pretty, sometimes it's not. In this instance, it's cost me $22 in materials to do this jockey shift. Everything else I had laying around. So let me show you what we got going on here. So right here, this is the finished product. See if I can move this over a little bit. Alright, this back plate here, this is 3/16 steel plate that I got from Lowe's. This is what's left of the original clutch cable that I cut down. It using the original adjuster is clamping itself to this tab here, then loops through my foot peg that is made out of an old wrench and the toe peg off the original shifter that came with these BDL4 controls. This is a tab here, comes down from my hand clutch. Unfortunately, when I modified this last time, I shortened the sheath for the cable. Normally it's braided like this right here, but I shortened it too much and had to use a piece of this one that I cut off, and it wasn't quite long enough. So I might just fork out, $20-30 for a new clutch cable and to do it over, because I would really like to have this tab down here to have a straight pull instead of an angle pull, but it does work quite well. And I'll show you that here. So you engage your foot clutch. Alright, works real easy. That's all the throw there needs to be. And then you can pull in your hand clutch and hold the clutch in place. Then you can take off. You can even disengage the clutch by hand, so stop and go traffic is not a problem. So when you first go, put in your clutch, change your gear, let the clutch out to take off, or like me, because I got bad knees, put it in gear, grab the hand clutch, put both feet on the ground and wait to take off. Ease out the clutch, then between every gear you're just using a foot clutch until you're ready to come to stop. That way when you get ready to stop, you can either put it in neutral or just grab the hand clutch and hold it in place till you come to a stop so you can take off again safely. So that's pretty much it. Next project, who knows?